In today's episode, we will explore how medical schools can use key data from their annual residency match to drive better outcomes for their learners by using it throughout their learner advising process. Let's talk about holistic success. Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Dore, VP of Science and Innovation and co-founder at Acuity Insights. With me today is Adam Tarnowsky, who leads product management for our analytics product. Analytics is a comprehensive data integration platform for health science programs that consolidates information from diverse systems into intuitive dashboards, facilitating really informed decision making. Adam is here to talk to us about residency match data for advising. And I'm really excited because Adam works with data from across all of our programs. So he's going to bring us some really key insights. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks, Kelly.
So let's get started. First of all, Adam, tell me what we mean when we say comprehensive data integration platform.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Well, let's just say we have people coming to us who are awash in a variety of different types of data. It's kind of stored in a bunch of different systems, sometimes upwards of 30 different systems. And that data is effectively siloed, and they're not able to see it and make use of it the way that maybe they want to. And so a comprehensive data integration platform, what we mean by that is a platform that really helps to unlock that potential of that data by bringing it all together. It's comprehensive because we support multiple different platforms and have integrations to pull that data in. That those integrations are turnkey and highly configurable so that we can adjust for how you might be using the system. And it's a platform, so we're pulling this data all into one place, but we're using it for multiple different things. We can actually allow our users to see visualizations and dashboards on the data, or even be able to create an MSPE letter from our MSP letter generation tool. And so it's really this great foundation for exploring and making more use of your data that's in various places.
So what you're telling me, Adam, is I no longer have to be worried if my Excel spreadsheet is up to date or if I've got the right login permissions for data that I need to use every day, every week, or every month.
That's right. It's all in one place in this comprehensive data integration platform.
So Adam, let's dig into what is residency match data, why it's so important to programs, and what the analytics product can do to really help programs and help learners.
Yeah, Kelly. Residency match is something our medical education attendees will be quite familiar with already, but it's perhaps the biggest moment for an undergraduate medical education student, especially as they prepare to launch their career. So as students go through their first 4 years of undergraduate medical education, they're exposed to a variety of different clinical settings, which help them key in on maybe where they want to specialize in as a doctor. Students go on to complete a residency program after they've done their undergraduate years, and this sets them on their career trajectory. Now, in the US, students usually must apply for residency via registration through the NRMP, the National Residency Match Program. This program takes into account things like the student's preference for specialty and maybe the institution or program they want to apply to, as well as it looks at their academic record, and it uses all of that to figure out who gets matched to what program. Now, during match week, which happens in early March, the NRMP releases these matches of students to the residencies. And since there are often more applications to certain residencies than others, those students have to go through a bit of a process called SOAP that is a bit of what I'll call like speed dating for a residency match. And that gives them another chance to kind of explore second opportunities to match to a residency. So seeing all this data, because it's so high stakes for a student to match to a residency, it's very important for programs to make sure that they're preparing their students for that match. It is very important. And so there's a bunch of different reasons why our programs come to us and say, hey, we want to see this data in this comprehensive data integration platform. One of the main reasons is they want to see how well did your class match, because it's a key performance indicator for many programs. Everyone wants to ensure that they're preparing their students well enough so that they match to the residency that they want. And this is a time-sensitive KPI that programs often need to share with leadership. Leadership is keenly aware of how important the match is, and they want to see those numbers as they come in. Additionally, they want to see a historical longitudinal view of this data. And so we do store multiple years back, and this really allows them to benchmark themselves against previous years so that they can start to see, hey, are we doing as good as or better than last year on certain key KPIs related to the match? What's really exciting about it being in analytics is that you get to pair this residency match data with a bunch of other things that we already have in the system, like characteristics about your students. So now you can go in and actually start analyzing your residency match data in much greater depth because you can say, I want to see this sub cohort in my graduating class and see how well they matched. Maybe it was early admittance or early acceptance students or students coming from a certain pathway, whatever that may be. If you have that data about your students in analytics, and it's quite flexible what you can store in analytics, you can use that to then see how the outcomes were for match with that subset of students. And I think that's really quite exciting. I think the last thing, there's so much here, but the last thing is this is really important for advising, especially career advising. Students in their first and second year start to form an understanding of the specialty they want to go into, and career advisors help them along the way to match their academic profile with what might be required to get into those programs. And so we can take this match data and look at the historical records for it. And we can start to allow career advisors to show them historically, this is what it has taken for a student at our institution to match to the kind of program that you're looking for. And that's really specific and detailed to that school, which is quite unique.
That's actually pretty amazing, Adam. I spent a lot of time working with both undergrad and postgrad programs. And what we know is that there's, even more recently, the call from the Coalition for Physician Accountability to increase the support that we're providing for that UME to GME transition and how we can better support programs, learners, and by programs, I mean both the undergraduate and postgraduate programs, because they're both struggling. And one of the things I've heard from learners is that there's so much information, yet it's really hard to navigate. We hear that, you know, med students or DO students or international students are applying to 50 plus different places for their residency. Maybe not knowing always, what their chances are of certain places or what the likelihood is of success. And so, what are some of the really effective ways you've seen medical schools use their residency match data?
Yeah, I can think of a few really interesting examples. So I've seen schools benchmark themselves against previous years, and we've kind of talked about that uh, a few moments ago. But I know one school in particular, we're trying to look at, well, how many people matched in the first round through NRMP versus maybe SOAP or other different types of matches. And I've also seen them be really curious about how their students matched regionally or in certain areas, and how that has changed over time. Schools might have mandates to try and get students to practice in rural medicine or to practice in state when they're done. And if they're going to a residency in state, that bodes well for where they may work and practice once they're done. Secondly, schools are really interested in continuous quality improvement. And for residency match, what that means is they want to see, is the match rate improving year over year? Is the quality of the match also improving? So are they seeing students get into more prestigious programs or more competitive specialties? And are match preference rates actually improving year over year? So that means my students who prefer to get into certain residencies, are they actually getting that? And has that been improving year over year? All these things together are really important to assess the health and kind of the final outcome of an undergraduate medical program.
Adam, I think both of those use cases make a lot of sense. both for the learners to think about where they're putting their information, or sorry, their applications, and then also for the medical schools to think about how they're supporting, how they're advising their applicants. We heard at a recent med ed meeting, um, when they were talking about this UME to GME transition, the added complication of signaling that we know is happening in certain specialties and differently in different specialties. Some are using, a small number of signals. Some have a large number of signals that you can allocate. Some have gold and silver signals that you can, pick your top, pick your other ones. And I just think there's so much information that advisors really have to consider when putting, indicating where should you put your signals, what should they recommend to applicants coming, depending on their different metrics. So what benefits can programs see from using this match information that you talked about pulled together all in one place when they're advising their students?
Yeah, so I touched on this earlier as well, but it's this historical view of match data that becomes really important. It starts to build for advisors a real understanding of what it has historically taken for students from their school, from their program, to match to certain specialties or certain regions or certain types of programs. And so having all that information allows them to then have a pretty transparent discussion with their students who are maybe in the early years and are at a point where they're exploring different specialties, right? And they need to know, where is my best chance going to be? Where should I be starting to dive into? And so having that really detailed view allows an advisor to kind of compare it with the student's record, which they also can do in analytics, and say, okay, so I'm seeing, you're getting certain things here that are like way above what students typically get for matching here. So like you're looking really good there, but there's these opportunities for growth that I really think you should push yourself into to have a good shot at getting into these programs. I think there's also going to be unfortunate circumstances where it's just such a big difference from how that student's trajectory looks that it gives an opportunity early on for an advisor to say, you know what, let's start exploring adjacent specialties and things that maybe are more in line with what your academic trajectory currently looks like. And that is quite valuable and much more detailed than I think what you'd normally get from. So the NRMP does provide reports that kind of help with this, but it's looking at the overall US student population that matched that year. So it's not giving you that really specific detailed match data for your institution.
So it sounds like this historic view again is not just helping the programs who have that match metric as an important data point and endpoint for them in terms of their success as a program, but also for the individual learners in that precision medical education perspective. Maybe you could talk also about how analytics as a product helps programs and learners maximize the utility of that residency match data, because it sounds like there's a lot of information there. So how do we make sure they're using it to the best of their ability?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot you can do with the NRMP data that schools get right now. You can open it up in Excel and you can slice and dice it and do your Excel stuff with it. But adding it into analytics helps in a few different ways. One, you've got a durable place where it's stored, and you can have that, again, that historical view, so you can store your match results every year in that product. And when you come back, it's there. It's ready to go. It's ready for you to dive into. I think secondly, what's really important is you get to see all of this alongside all of the other data that's coming from these different systems. And so now you're able to really paint a picture from either an individual student or a cohort of students from the time they start, or maybe even like their pre-matriculation characteristics, all the way through to when they finish undergraduate medical education. And you're able to use any of those data points to segment or filter or sort your residency match results. And so it allows for a lot deeper and a lot more nuanced analysis done really easily on your medical education program and your residency match data.
Yeah, and speaking as a researcher who's kind of getting very excited about the opportunities here, I think having that longitudinal residency match data, where you're not searching for a random Excel spreadsheet that's on somebody's computer somewhere, um, it really allows you to also do some CQI on your program. It allows you to look at changes you make, whether it's to clerkships or to other components of your curriculum, and see what you can do or what's working or where students may be struggling. I think there's huge opportunity here. I'm personally myself geeking out a little bit at the types of research that could go on here. So let's maybe end with three takeaways for our audience. What would you say are sort of the three takeaways from thinking about residency match data and analytics?
Yeah, I think the three key things to take away from this is that it's really important to have a longitudinal view of your residency match data. And it's really convenient and actually helps to speed up your analysis process if you can see that data alongside other data about your student and about your program. Um, and then I think finally, just being able to see that in a way, we've got dashboards pre-built and visualizations already there. So a lot of the work is already done for you. We're already showing common key KPIs that people are interested in reporting on. And so a lot of that work is already done for you. So you can start to analyze and see the results of this really quickly with much less turnaround time.
That's pretty exciting, Adam, both for the programs, but as we say, for the learners too. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. To all of you, thank you for watching and listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. If you enjoyed this episode of our show, please be sure to check out the other episodes. And don't forget to subscribe. We have a new episode releasing every week.